Welcome to Babies from Beyond, the podcast that gives all babies a voice, whether they are still in spirit or already earthside. I'm Lauren Dionysius, a former registered NICU nurse turned baby soul communicator, and I'm here to share the wisdom of today's babies to guide you on your motherhood journey. So before we dive in, I do want to acknowledge the sensitivity of this topic and honour all of you who are listening who may be navigating loss at the moment, whether that be miscarriage, termination, ectopic, stillbirth, any of these things. They are very profound, powerful, but also heartbreaking experiences for not only your human self, but your soul self as well. But they're also very powerful in that bigger perspective or that bigger picture. So I really hope that today's episode can bring some comfort to your journey if this is what you are navigating at this time. So I want to start with the reality. And if you've been listening to me for a while, you'll have heard me say this before, but the truth is that not all babies survive. And I firmly believe that if all babies were supposed to survive, then they would. It hasn't always been that way for me. I believed for many, many years that all babies should survive. And the fact that they weren't was wrong on every single level. I blamed God, I blamed the universe, I blamed anyone and everything I could think of in relation to this. Because as a nurse caring for babies and witnessing the loss and the death of countless babies during my career, it was something that I was never able to make peace with until I started communicating and asking these babies, like, what is going on here? And as I said, the truth is, some babies do not survive. Many pregnancies do not continue. Not all babies who even move through the birth portal survive. So we have miscarriage, we have stillbirth, we have ectopics, we have termination. All of these things where the soul comes for a period of time and then leaves again. And so I really hope in this episode that I can offer you a different perspective around this journey, and that's from their perspective, from their soul's perspective. Because what I've learned over the years is that for some babies, it can't come on the first go for whatever reason. They conceive, they continue throughout pregnancy, they're born happy, healthy, well. But this is not the reality for many babies. And this is because there are different reasons and they have different experiences that they're coming here to journey through, just like we all do. And so for many babies, it does take more than one attempt, sometimes multiple attempts over multiple conceptions for them to successfully come to earth. And this is not just that something's gone wrong on the physical level, although that can absolutely be part of the process. It's also about their journey and what they need for their journey. So when we dive into this topic of will your baby that you lost, will they return to you, then we need to understand more about the journey of the soul and why these babies would come and leave the earth. So what I've come to learn is that there's a few things that influence a baby soul's decision to return to the earth. So it depends on what their plans are for their earth's journey. So as you may have heard me speak to already, a soul comes to the earth with some kind of plan, some kind of agreement, some kind of outline of what they're here to learn, to teach, to explore, to experience. It's not all set in stone. I don't believe the earth is as predictable as that. I think if it was very predictable and all set in concrete, then what's the point really of coming? Because a big part of the earth's journey is that unpredictability, is that seeing how things are going to unfold, seeing how all of the energies, not just on the earth, but also between other people, between other souls, experiences, actions, thoughts, behaviors, all of these things can influence that plan or influence that journey ahead. So that's a big part of what determines a soul's decision to return, is what their plans are. Like, what is that plan? What are they coming to do? Why are they bothering to make the journey to Earth? What's that about? Something else that they take into consideration is the soul contracts or the agreements that they've made for their life here. So that can be their agreement or contract with their parents, either one parent or both. It can also be for other people in their life. It could be siblings. It could be partners later in life. It could be friends, extended family, all of these things. It's basically those agreements between souls that have made some kind of pact to have some kind of experience or connection here on the earth. So depending on that contract, depending on the other souls involved, will also influence a baby soul's return to the earth. Because it is about what they're here to learn, but it's also about what you're here to learn as well. And even though any sort of loss is heartbreaking to us as humans, they're also some of the most powerful ways for the soul to heal and for the soul to grow. So you may have heard me mention that I do at times like to separate the soul's experience and the human's experience, because often what can be very powerful for the soul and profound and healing can be very brutal and disturbing and devastating for us on the human level that need to walk through that fire or to have those experiences that our soul has chosen for us to have. The human part of me still really struggles with that at times. So sometimes we do need to separate that a little. But yeah, as to whether they will return to you also depends what you're here to learn from them, from pregnancy, from motherhood, from your side of the fence as well. Another thing that influences a baby's return is the karmic lessons or the patterns that may need healing as well. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about karma in a moment, but I just wanted to park that there, that as well as the plans, as well as the agreements, there's also karma or different experiences that need to be have that are based on past experiences or past journeys to Earth that may need some support, some growth, some healing, a new perspective. And so this is also what souls take into consideration when planning to return to the Earth after loss. And also, even if a soul does decide to return after loss, there's also the timing that needs to be taken into consideration and the readiness, not just for your soul having experienced the loss, which those of you who are listening who understand this, like understand the profound, brutal, physical experience of loss, the emotional, mental, energetic toll that any kind of pregnancy loss can take on you. So souls returning will take that into consideration. And it's not always appropriate or helpful for you for them to return right. As humans, we need time for processing, we need time for integration, we need time for healing. And that's often needed to be done in that space in between the experiences, rather than having an experience come back straight away in an attempt to heal. In doing this work, that's not always the best way to support any soul, is to have another experience on top of it. Often there needs to be space. And again, this is a generalization. It's not true for everyone and in all situations, but a soul returning following loss, often both souls need a little time, a little space, and even the soul who has left as well. Just as you're going through a release and a process and an integration around the loss of your pregnancy, they are also experiencing the release of the earth world, the earth's energy, their connection to what was their physical body, and they're also integrating or reconnecting back to the spirit world. And whatever learning or growth or reflections that they need to do about their journey for Earth, and whether they need to make changes to their plans or their journey based on what they learnt during their short time here, which is often a really profound purpose, especially for souls who leave through miscarriage. And in my experience, souls who leave through miscarriage, it's generally their decision to leave. And this can be based on many reasons. Often it's the body that they have become connected to is not the body that's going to support them in this life, whether that's on a physical level, a chromosomal level, even like the biological sex. Some babies may think, I want to come as a girl, and then they come and into a girl body, and then they realize, actually, no, this is not what I want. This is not what I need for this life. I'm going to leave and return. And on the soul level, it sounds very matter of fact, very direct. There's not a lot of emotion involved. But as we know here on Earth, we are all about emotions, and we do experience emotions when we have these types of situations unfold in our life. So that's a very big difference I've learned between us humans here on Earth and the souls in spirit, is that their decisions are much less clouded, are much less emotional, and are much more direct. It's like, this is not what I needed, so I change it. Whereas us as humans, we don't really function so well around that. We don't tend to be as clear with our decisions because there's normally a lot of layers for it. But with a soul, it tends to be very simple for them. This isn't working, I'm going to leave, and I'll try again another day. It is often, with so many of these souls, just as simple as that. So whether they return to you will depend also on what the reason was for them leaving. So as I mentioned, this can be around that they're in the body that's not going to support them. They may realize it's not the right timing for you or for them. It can be that they're just trying to get used to the Earth's energy, especially those souls who may not have been to the Earth before, they haven't been here for a while, or perhaps things have changed a lot since they were last here on the Earth, or they're a really high vibrational soul coming to a planet that can be pretty dense at times, especially with the world that we're in right now. And it's always been layers of density throughout history. So it's not that now is a bad time for souls to come. There's still plenty of souls coming. But a big part of their journey is their adjustment to the Earth's energy. And the way I describe this is, imagine if you have never been to a country before. Say you've never been to Africa, and suddenly you book a flight, you board the plane, and you land somewhere in the middle of Kenya. You don't speak Swahili, you don't understand the culture, you don't know where you are, you don't understand the maps. Everything is so foreign to you, everything is so different to you that it's overwhelming to you. You may have that sense of culture shock, or I just want to leave, I don't want to be here. So it can be very jarring to just be plonked into a foreign country where you've never been before and you don't know, and told that, okay, you're going to live in Kenya for the next 100 years. For most of us, that is very overwhelming. It's very daunting, and something that we probably not really want to do. And I find it's the same with babies. And so with that, it would make more logical sense if you went to Africa for a month. You did a safari, you had a look around, maybe you bought a friend, maybe you had a tour guide, or you had a try before you buy. Most of us would not go and live in a foreign country sight unseen without having experienced it first, or gone there for a holiday, or at least done a significant amount of research around the place. And this is what I find with babies who are coming to the Earth at this time. They don't want to just be plonked on the Earth where on a planet they don't understand, or they can't really remember it if it's been a while since they were last here. It may be that they're coming into a different country where they haven't incarnated before. Again, maybe they are kids who have been born to Africa before and suddenly they're being born into Australia. That's a big culture shock. It's a big language difference. It's a very different energetic frequency between Africa and Australia. And so for a baby soul to go from spirit to the earth for 100 years, it can be like us literally landing in the African savannah and saying like, off you go. So I hope that helps you to understand the soul's journey a little bit more and why some souls do need to come multiple times. It's like we might go to Africa 3, 4, 5 times before we decide to live there, or before we feel confident enough or safe enough or ready enough to live in Africa. The same with souls. Like there are souls absolutely who will come once and stay, depending on their energy, their reasons, when they were last here, their purpose, all of these things. But there are many souls who, I would say the majority of souls, to be honest, who take more than one go to stay here. And there's some souls that, unfortunately for you, need to come 3, 4, 5, or sometimes more times in order for them to acclimate, to become more used to the earth, to feel safe enough, comfortable enough to be able to commit to a lifetime here on earth. Because once they're here, they can't just suddenly change their mind and say, oh no, I'm out of here. It just doesn't work that way. So again, on that soul's perspective, these souls get to have, for a reason, these opportunities to piece by piece, conception by conception, become more used to the earth's energy. And each time they come, it becomes a little bit easier. And then for the majority of these children, they will then stay, and a pregnancy will be successful. They will birth into the world, and they will have that long life that they initially planned. But it doesn't just happen overnight. And I think that's where we don't consider this. We just think that they'll come and that's it. But it's not as straightforward as that. So it's that time to adjust that can take more than one conception. Sometimes too, a soul may be coming to the earth to help you heal. And especially if there has been a lot of karma between you, the two of you, say you and this child, and I'll come back to karma in a moment, but if there's a lot of previous soul history between the two of you, it can become very challenging for you to both, for a soul to come into your womb and then stay there, and then for you to go on and have a long life together. Again, that can be very intense if there's been a lot of trauma in your soul's history, healing that needs to be done, some unfinished business, a lot of energy that is really powerful. But also, I'm not saying it's all bad. There can be souls that have had very powerful experiences together as well. So it's not about whether it's been a good history or a bad history. It's more about the intensity of that. Because again, it can be overwhelming for both souls, you and them, if they come and stay. So that's something that also needs to be taken into consideration. And just like the soul I mentioned previously, where it can be they need several times to come here to get used to the earth's energy, it can also take time for you and this soul who's coming to you to also get used to each other. It's like meeting a friend for coffee as opposed to suddenly moving in with them forever. It can take time for that relationship to develop. And I'm talking mostly about miscarriage here. That can be a really powerful way on the soul level, not the human level, to help these souls, your soul and their soul, to adjust to each other, and also to prepare each other for the journey that you have together ahead. So that's something also to consider. So now I want to go into karma, and I have talked a little bit about this already in this episode so far. So if you've heard me speak about karma before, I don't see it as reward or punishment. I see karma as about balance. The way I tend to see karma is a pendulum, like literally a ball on a string. And one experience will make it swing one way. And to find balance, we often need to have the opposite experience for it to swing back in the other direction. And that's what I find, like karma, it always wants to come back into balance, come back into stillness. using the pendulum analogy, it's like the ball on the string just wants to be sitting at the bottom, still, and not swinging too much either side. But being here on the earth as a human, that's not why we come. But we do come to have these different swings. So if I bring this back to the motherhood journey and about loss, so around miscarriage, if your soul once left a body through miscarriage in another woman's life, whether that is your mother in this life, you may have been one of her miscarriages, you may or may not be aware of that. And so one way for you to experience that in a deeper way is to be on the receiving end of that. So a soul coming to you who chooses to leave through miscarriage. It's not about punishment at all, but again, the soul loves to experience situations from different perspectives, from both sides of the fence, seeing both sides of the story. And I guess it reminds me a little bit of like a game of tennis, like where you can't understand the game fully, as in you can't understand the journey of life fully unless you learn to serve and to receive. So you won't find a good tennis player who is great at serving but can't receive. And you also won't find a great tennis player who can receive till the cows come home without knowing how to serve if they don't have a good serve. So this is what I find the soul wants. It's multidimensional. It wants to be able to see the same thing from different perspectives. And so when I see karmic reasons around miscarriage, termination, not so much stillbirth, but that's also very possible. It can be that your soul is wanting to have a different experience from the other side of the fence to what your soul had experienced previously. And these baby souls can come to you to help you have those experiences for you and for them as well. So I know this is a big topic and I think it's probably too big for one episode, but if a baby's soul does return to you, and there are many who will, it's important to remember that it's actually a brand new lifetime for them. And it may have been 3 months ago, 6 months ago that you were last pregnant with them, but that journey for them, that life for them, whether it was 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 12 weeks, 20 weeks, it has now become their past life. Even though it's still within your lifetime, it's now a past life for them. So when they leave the earth and they take time to reevaluate, review, plan, see what they're wanting to do in their next life, see if they need to make any changes, sometimes they may decide to pick up where they left off, or they may decide to come back with a completely different plan as well. Again, depending on their journey, their timelines, their soul contracts, agreements, karma, all of these things that we've talked about today. And I'm sorry if this is really confusing in many ways, but at the end of the day, what's most important is that we check in with the soul, check in with what's going on for them, why they're here, what they need, see where they're at. Because things can and do change, but they are the ones that have the answer. So I'm going to leave it here for today's episode. Please be gentle with yourself if this has been triggering for you, or if this has brought up any feelings or amplified any sense of grief for you. Please make sure that you receive the support that you need to guide you on your journey and through the navigation of loss and grief. Thank you for tuning in to Babies from Beyond. If you've enjoyed this episode, I'd love for you to leave me a review just wherever you listen to your podcasts. Also, head over to Instagram and give me a follow at Born Energy, and check out the show notes for more ways that you can connect with your baby's soul, including one-on-one readings and online programs to support you. Until next time, trust your journey and your baby. Take care.